Good evening and thank you for joining KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. It's good to have you with us tonight. A driver died in a serious crash at Freya and Baltimore in Spokane County this afternoon. The sheriff's office says one car hit a tree and then caught fire. When crews arrived on scene, bystanders had pulled the driver from the car. They were trying CPR. South Baltimore is actually still closed at East Clark as crews investigate. No word when that road will reopen.
We got an update from police this afternoon on yesterday's shooting in downtown Seattle that killed one person and injured others, including a 9-year-old boy.
Police did arrest one suspect who was actually injured in that shooting and went to the hospital last night. He was arrested today.
Police are still searching for the two other suspects. Both men are 24 years old and are considered armed and dangerous. Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best said the two at-large suspects have a history with law enforcement and that third suspect arrested is a known gang member.
We need a call to action on gun violence across America and in Seattle. Gun violence anywhere is unacceptable, and it is especially jarring when it occurs in the heart of our city, where tens of thousands of people work, shop, and live, and happens in one of the most busy intersections at the most busy time of day.
That is the mayor of Seattle today, who said there are simply too many guns in our country ending up in the hands of criminals. Police are also increasing patrols in downtown Seattle after that shooting. A woman was killed, 7 others injured, including a 9-year-old boy. The shooting happened, as we said, around 5 p.m. last night in a corridor in downtown Seattle, right near Westlake Center.
New this afternoon, we know at least 16 people came into close contact with a Washington man with coronavirus. The CDC says staff is reaching out to people who were in contact with that 30-year-old patient. He returned to the U.S. from Wuhan, China last Wednesday at SeaTac Airport. 17 people have died and more than 500 infected with a respiratory infection. The Washington case is the only confirmed case here in the U.S. There are possible cases right now in Texas and L.A.
Well, starting Monday, all drivers in Spokane County will get a fine for driving with an unsecured load.
It is part of an initiative to reduce litter on the roads and prevent accidents from cars trying to avoid the trash. KREM 2's Shayna Waldtower tells us how leaders are planning to enforce this.
It's just time to start enforcing that fee.
When you drive over this scale at any of the 3 city and county waste facilities, crews will be looking at more than just how much your items weigh. They'll also be checking for how well they're strapped down. Since last June, city workers started warning people dropping off waste if their loads weren't properly secured in their vehicles. Chris Major with the city's solid waste system says they would give about 1 to 2 warnings a day at each of the city and county's transfer stations.
There are things coming out of people's vehicles, and besides the cost of cleaning up that litter, it's dangerous. If someone is following a vehicle where something blows out the back, it can cause accidents and hurt someone.
Once those warnings started adding up,
we just felt it was important that we needed to start enforcing that.
Major says crews clean up more than 12 million pounds of litter that come from vehicles every year. So starting Monday, you'll receive a fee of $5 if when you arrive to a facility to drop off your trash, your items aren't tied down to your vehicle. To properly store these items, Major says you can use a tarp, rope, or other fasteners, just anything to keep pieces from flying out of the back of your truck and onto the road. Now, this fee is actually much less than the $216 fine you'd get if Washington State Patrol catches you driving with free-flying debris on the interstate. Major says to make sure that they're even setting the example, city and county crews will also be paying even closer attention to the items on their trucks to make sure they're properly covered and fastened. In Spokane, Shayna Waldtower, KREM 2 News.
And a lot of rain out there on the road today.
Goodness,
yeah, we pretty much know we can expect that rain all day into next week.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
Thomas Patrick standing by in the Weather Center with more on what's been a strange winter so far. Thomas.
Yeah, well, it's been just these blocks of either warm weather or snowy weather. Now we're in the rainy weather stretch, and it's going to stay with us for the foreseeable future here. So get ready for more rain than not over the next several days, including right now. Another cold rain, but steady rain over most of the area. Looks like the heaviest rain falling near southern Washington, south of the I-90 area, so areas close to La Crosse, Dayton, and even Pomeroy. might expect a little bit of some intense rain within the next hour or two. Looks like Coeur d'Alene is picking up a moderate rainfall at the moment, while it's still pretty light in the Spokane area. No sign of it stopping, at least not for several hours here. So expect a rainy night. Temperatures, well, between about 41 or 42 degrees for the next 12 hours. So not much change there, but it is fairly mild for January's standards. So yeah, future tracker not showing any kind of change all the way through Friday morning. So what we have now is going to stick with us for tomorrow. Lots of rain chances ahead. So really the challenge is finding out when it's not going to rain, but I do have at least a window of opportunity before the weekend hits for some drier hours. We'll tell you about that coming up in just a few minutes.
Sounds good, Thomas. Thank you very much. Meantime, in Olympia, lawmakers are considering a permanent ban on flavored vaping products. Senate Bill 6254 would only allow the sale of e-juice considered flavorless or tobacco flavored. The bill would also limit the nicotine levels and size of e-juice containers. The state's Board of Health started a temporary ban last October after a nationwide outbreak of vaping-related illnesses and deaths. The temporary ban is in effect until February 7th.
House managers began the second day of opening presentations today at the impeachment trial of the 45th president.
A president who abuses his power in order to kneecap political opponents and spread Russian conspiracy theories, a president who uses his office to ask for, or even worse, to compel foreign nations to meddle in our elections, is a president who attacks the very foundation of our liberty.
Those opening arguments today focused on making the case against President Trump that he abused his power.
A president who abuses his power in order to kneecap political opponents and spread Russian conspiracy theories, a president who uses his office to ask for, or even worse, to compel foreign nations to meddle in our elections, is a president who attacks.
So as the case is argued, President Trump will spend part of tonight at a Republican event in Florida.
The nation is rolling back federal water protections introduced fewer than 5 years ago by former President Barack Obama. The biggest change is a controversial move to roll back federal limits on pollution in wetlands and smaller waterways. This exception applies to waste treatment systems, groundwater, prior converted cropland, and farm watering ponds.
FedEx is warning customers of a nationwide text scam. A text is being sent to countless people across the country this week that may appear to be from FedEx, but it's more likely a scam from someone trying to steal your personal information. It's basically disguised as a tracking code for a package that's going to be delivered. Users are then asked to deliver or enter their delivery preferences and provide personal and credit card information. So FedEx just released a statement today saying we are committed to protecting the security and integrity of our network. While there is no foolproof method to prevent the FedEx name from being used in a scam, we are constantly monitoring for such activity.
Well, there might be a new way to find out if you have the flu without going to the doctor's office.
Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So your Fitbit, along with tracking your steps and heart rate, might actually be on its way to letting you know ahead of time if you're getting the flu.
Doctors could soon have a new way to figure out if you have the flu. Your Fitbit. So how does it work? Let's connect the dots. Doctors have known for a while that when your resting heart rate increases, it's a sign that your immune system is gearing up for a fight. But since your doctor usually doesn't have a record of what your average resting heart rate is, the information can't really be used to find the flu. So in a new study, researchers approached Fitbit to see if the company had that kind of information. Fitbit handed over the health data of 200,000 users, stripped of any identifying details. The researchers looked for people with elevated heart rates who were sleeping more, since fighting the flu often means you need more rest. Then they compared their results to CDC data on flu cases in that state. The numbers were a pretty close match. And while your Fitbit might be able to warn you in the future that you are getting sick, you would still need to go to the doctor for an actual diagnosis. But the early warning could help people start treating their illness earlier. Connecting the dots, I'm Janelle Bluda for H-Town Rush.
Good to know. Hey, the 62nd Grammy Awards show now just days away, but serious accusations from the Academy's recently suspended CEO Deborah Dugan are now casting a shadow over music's biggest night. In a complaint filed on Tuesday, she claims one artist who came in 18th place after voting for Song of the Year not only sat on the committee deciding on those nominees, but is actually represented by a member of the Academy board. Dugan says the artist wound up as one of the final nominees.
Not only are there trustees that have conflict of interest on particular artists that are nominated, but more importantly, there are even artists that are nominated that are in the room. So for me, that's just such a blatant conflict of interest.
Well, the suspended CEO also filed a lawsuit Tuesday alleging that she was wrongfully fired after raising allegations of sexual harassment and irregularities with Grammy nominations. The 62nd Annual Grammy Awards is scheduled to air this Sunday right here on CBS.